The ancient Olympic Games, a profound and iconic aspect of ancient Greek culture, were much more than just athletic competitions. They were a complex blend of religious reverence, civic pride, and social unity. Their origins, evolution, and eventual decline reflect a rich tapestry of myth, tradition, and historical development. To fully appreciate their significance, one must delve into their origins, the nature of the events, the athletes, the religious practices, and their impact on Greek society. The Olympic Games have their roots deeply embedded in Greek mythology. One of the most enduring legends attributes the founding of the Games to Hercules, the son of Zeus. According to myth, Hercules, after completing his 12 labors, established the Games to honor his father Zeus, marking out the sacred space of the stadium in Olympia. This mythological origin underscores the divine endorsement of the Games and their place within the broader framework of Greek religious practices. Another myth links the Games to Pelops, a hero who won a chariot race against King Oenomaus of Pisa to win the hand of the king's daughter, Hippodamia. The victory in this race and the subsequent marriage to Hippodamia were celebrated with a festival that became the prototype for the Olympic Games. This connection highlights the Games as a celebration of heroic achievements and divine favor. Olympia was not merely a location, but a deeply sacred sanctuary that hosted the Games. Situated in the western Peloponnese, the site was renowned for its religious significance. It was home to the Temple of Zeus, which housed the monumental statue of Zeus sculpted by Phidias, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The statue was approximately 12 meters tall and was adorned with gold and ivory, symbolizing the grandeur and divine presence of Zeus. The Temple of Hera, another significant structure, was dedicated to the goddess Hera, the wife of Zeus. It was here that the Heraian Games, a separate athletic festival for women, were held. The presence of these temples and the rituals performed within them emphasized the Games' role as a religious festival rather than just an athletic event. Olympia also featured a series of other important buildings and facilities. The stadium, where most of the athletic events took place, was a simple but effective structure designed to accommodate thousands of spectators. The Hippodrome, a separate venue, was used for chariot and horse racing. The Altis, a sacred grove within Olympia, was dotted with statues and altars dedicated to various deities and heroes, adding to the sacred atmosphere of the Games. The Olympic Games were held every 4 years, a period known as an Olympiad. This 4-year interval became a standard for dating historical events in ancient Greece. The festival lasted for 5 days, during which a range of athletic competitions and religious ceremonies took place. Initially, the Games featured only a single event, the Stadion race, which was a sprint of approximately 192 meters, or 1 stadion. This race was the only competition for the first 13 Olympiads, reflecting the early emphasis on speed and individual prowess. As the Games grew in popularity, new events were introduced. The Dialos, a race twice the length of the Stadion, was added in 724 BC. This race tested not only speed, but also the endurance of the athletes. The Dolichos, a long-distance race that could range from 7 to 24 laps around the stadium, was introduced in 720 BC, further expanding the range of athletic challenges. In 708 BC, the pentathlon was introduced, a multi-discipline event that became a hallmark of the Games. The pentathlon consisted of 5 distinct events: the Stadion race, wrestling, long jump, javelin throw, and discus throw. This combination of events was designed to showcase the athlete's versatility and skill across a range of physical activities. The long jump was performed with the aid of weights called halteres, which athletes swung to increase their jumping distance. Wrestling, or pale, was another significant event added in 708 BC. It was a grappling contest where competitors aimed to throw each other to the ground 3 times. Wrestling was one of the oldest and most respected sports in Greek culture, emphasizing both strength and technique. Boxing, or pygmachia, was introduced in 688 BC. It was a particularly brutal sport with few rules, where competitors wore leather straps on their hands to protect their fists. Boxing matches were known for their ferocity and were a major draw for spectators. Pancration, introduced in 648 BC, was an even more intense and violent event. Combining elements of wrestling and boxing, it allowed almost all forms of combat, with few restrictions. This no-holds-barred contest was renowned for its brutality and was a test of both physical endurance and fighting skill. Equestrian events were a major feature of the Olympic Games. The chariot race, introduced in 680 BC, was a particularly prestigious and dramatic event. It involved teams of horses pulling chariots driven by skilled charioteers. The races were held in the Hippodrome, a large arena designed specifically for equestrian competitions. The chariot race was not only a test of speed, but also of skill and strategy, as charioteers navigated their chariots around the track while contending with other competitors. Horseback racing was another significant event, showcasing the speed and agility of both horses and riders. These equestrian events were a spectacle of wealth and status, as city-states often sponsored chariot teams and horses. Participation in the Olympic Games was a significant honor and a mark of personal and civic pride. Only freeborn Greek men were eligible to compete, and they were required to adhere to rigorous standards of conduct and training. Athletes typically trained for months or even years in preparation for the Games, often under the guidance of professional trainers. Training took place in gymnasia, which were facilities equipped for physical exercise and education. City-states took great pride in their athletes and often sponsored them, providing financial support and resources. Victorious athletes were celebrated with great fanfare and honored with statues, poems, and other public accolades. The city-state that produced the winning athlete often gained prestige and honor, reflecting the broader competitive spirit of Greek society. The Olympic Games were deeply intertwined with Greek religious practices. They were not merely an athletic festival, but a major religious event dedicated to Zeus. The Games began with a grand procession to the Temple of Zeus, where athletes swore an oath to compete fairly and honor the gods. The religious ceremonies included sacrifices of animals and offerings to Zeus, and the Games were an expression of piety and respect for the divine. The Olympic Games also served as a time of peace and unity among the Greek city-states. Despite their significance, the ancient Olympic Games eventually declined. The rise of the Roman Empire and the spread of Christianity brought changes to the religious and cultural landscape of the Greek world. In AD 393, the Roman Emperor Theodosius Tharsus, a Christian, issued an edict abolishing the Games as part of his broader campaign to suppress pagan practices and festivals. This marked the end of the ancient Olympic Games, and the site of Olympia fell into neglect. The decline of the Games was also influenced by changes in the political and social structure of the Roman Empire, which shifted focus away from the traditional Greek religious practices. The site of Olympia gradually became overgrown and was eventually buried under centuries of sediment and debris. The legacy of the ancient Olympic Games continued to inspire future generations. In the late 19th century, the spirit of the Games was revived by Pierre de Coubertin, a French educator and sports advocate. Coubertin was instrumental in founding the International Olympic Committee, IOC, in 1894, which led to the first modern Olympic Games held in Athens in 1896. This revival sought to honor and perpetuate the ideals of the ancient games, celebrating athletic excellence, international unity, and the pursuit of peace through sport. The modern Olympic Games have evolved significantly since their revival, becoming a global event that attracts athletes and spectators from around the world. They continue to embody the values of competition, honor, and unity that were central to the ancient games. The principles of fair play, sportsmanship, and international cooperation that emerged from the ancient Olympic tradition remain at the heart of the modern Olympics. The ancient Olympic Games were a profound expression of Greek culture, intertwining athletic prowess with religious devotion and civic pride. They reflected the ancient Greeks' reverence for the divine, their commitment to physical excellence, and their desire for unity among disparate city-states. The Games' rich history, from their mythological origins to their decline and eventual revival, highlights their enduring significance and their role in shaping the modern Olympic movement. The legacy of the ancient Olympic Games continues to inspire and influence the global celebration of sport and human achievement today.